And then about the RDM training network. So this is coming from one of the ELIXIR Converge work packages from the work package 2 for training, and it evolved later on into this RDM training network that is now part of the RDM community. So it's currently led by me and Niels and Helena from ELIXIR Germany, who I think they're both here, or at least I've seen Helena. So thanks for joining. And I'd like to encourage everyone who's here to join the RDM training network. We have a mailing list, we have a Slack channel. I'll put the link in the chat for you to join. But if anyone has any doubts about this or wants to hear a bit more about it, just message me directly. I'm happy to explain to you more. And then moving on to what we're doing today. So we have 2 speakers today, which I think probably everyone here, or most of you, will know already. So Federico Bianchini from University of Oslo, ELIXIR Norway, and Alexander Botzki from VIB, ELIXIR Belgium. We also have Helena Rascher, who's been very kind to help us with the GTN annotation effort. So she'll be also part of one of the breakout rooms if you join that one. So the agenda for today is going to be a 30-minute introduction at the start, where we're going to walk you through TeSS and bioschemas, and also what are the current annotation in TeSS and what are the latest developments with integrating EDAM with Federico. Right after this, we'll go into the breakout rooms. These are the bits that are not going to be recorded, and we will not return to the main room. These are going to be the last bits of the meeting, and then we'll just close it. So breakout room 1 is going to be with Federico, and this is going to be a hands-on on how you can annotate better your training materials and TeSS. So you'll be able to test whatever you see during the introduction. And the breakout 2 is with Alex, and this is more of an open discussion. So you're going to be talking about the current practices, how we can use bioschemas and EDAM on this integration for annotating training. And here is where you will also have Helena with the example of GTN as one of those ones who's integrating this. So that's it from me. So I'll leave the floor to my presenters. So thanks very much for doing that.
Good. Hello, everyone. So I will share the screen now. Xenia, I think. Yeah, welcome, everyone. Thank you, Xenia, for the kind introduction. My name is Alexander Botzki, and many of you who are here, at least from the glance I had on the participants, obviously know me. I work at VIB, at the Flemish Institute of Biotechnology. I have been involved in the training platform for quite a while now, and obviously also a big fan of TeSS. So I am very happy to run you through basically what TeSS can do in this regard on the annotation of training material. Research data management material is, of course, one aspect of it, but obviously this can be broadened up. Yeah. Good. What's TeSS? Many of you might know. Just to repeat it, TeSS is there to aggregate information about training events, training material, videos would be a subpart eventually of training material, and has also a section of e-learning material. I will come to this in a second. So we tend to refer to it as a portal of sources. In TeSS, you can register, organize, and curate these training assets. So we talked about some aspects a second ago. You can form collections if you want, and you can also form learning paths, which is one ongoing activity. And all of this we really want to do to increase the fairness of everything what is related to training. We aim to have TeSS as a one-stop shop for trainers and trainees at any level, national, international, and obviously TeSS is also there to showcase what ELIXIR training and all our partners in the game have to offer. Here's the link for those who want to visit it again or for the first time. Now, finding material in TeSS, you see on the right side, the portal idea. What can you find there? Courses, obviously, information, webinars, congresses. So these are the main types you can find there if you look for events in TeSS. And then obviously there's a lot of training material in TeSS, and this is why we are here today also to talk about the curation. But what is training material? Training material can be course plans, tutorials as we know them mostly, but also syllabi. could be also something which is related to training. So this can be also shared there. And as I said before, you can make collections. And then we have, as also mentioned, e-learning courses as a separate panel in TeSS. Now, we are here to talk about the fairness and how can we increase the fairness. There has been this nice paper from some years ago about the 10 simple rules for making training material fair. And as you know, 10 simple rules are not necessarily as simple as they say. These are these 10 steps we tend to work with. And here you'll see also the sections which addresses the findability, accessibility, interoperability, and also the reusability. And over the years, we have really tried to make an effort to work this out more deeply in discussion rounds like the Fair Training group, where now we have the Fair Training Handbook and also various training material we talk about today quickly as well. So if you want to have more information on how this all goes into practical ways of doing things, then we have a lot of pointers in this direction. And of course, the video as such is also interesting to have as training material. Now, talking about fair obviously means we need to talk about the metadata of training material or training events. I now focus a little bit obviously on the training material. And one way of doing, and Federico will also go towards that in more detail, is adding it manually in TeSS. So I don't show this process because obviously later on there is the session with Federico if you want to join that one. And it goes down again to those types I've shown here on the left side. But what do we advise? Obviously, there is a minimal set of metadata, which is also available in the interface in TeSS, like name, description, and keywords. But there are many more, and some are starred, so to say. You need to fill it out obligatory, and others are open. But again, as usually, we really encourage people to go beyond the minimal, so to say, obligatory fields and fill in more information. The more we have, the better it is later for the search engines to pull that out of the internet, and also gives a better idea for the trainers and the trainees what they expect if they look at these entries, like audience, course levels, so difficulty level, and eventually also level, is it a beginner, is it an advanced course, and the time investment. Think about the new learning material as well. How much time would I need to invest? Now, some more things which are, of course, going towards the more metadata we can also associate is that we would also like to go towards the way that we have DOIs for training material available, and that we also specify learning outcomes. Which there we recommend to follow Bloom's taxonomy, which gives you a nice way of formulating the learning outcomes for the respective course or training material. One short comment on e-learning. We have we have a clear definition on it. So in this panel, if you add e-learning material, the material as such should contain a self-learning experience. So not just a video, if I may say so, which means an interactive activity. And this means also interactive in the sense that while you're doing it at your desk, for instance, that there is some interaction with the website. So not just passive, if I may say so, passive consumption. And there's also an aspect of self-assessment. So these are extra properties of e-learning as we see it from ELIXIR's perspective. Now, talking about the structure. So now we go into this automated way of working. So what's behind the scenes? All our work is based on schema.org. Around for years, this consortium promotes the structured data on the internet. I mean, it goes really long way back. And this consortium describes basically everything what you can imagine on the planet, more or less, in a structured way. And what is the idea? Of course, to improve search efficacy, and at the same time also try to introduce, where possible, controlled vocabulary. So, as it says here, the metadata for the world. There are many profiles, many profiles, and of course, some of them go into the training field. Now, just to round this up on a conceptual level, in schema.org, there are a lot of types. So something could be things, there could be persons, of course. And if we go to things and we talk about events, that's reasonably clear. But of course, event is general, and there can be more specific types like a business event or an event geared at children or a comedy event. And you see that all of those types, be it the more general one or the more specific one, should contain a lot of properties. For an event, for a comedy event, you see an actor. Of course, you could be an attendee, and there needs to be at least something that you know what is it about. So these are the concept of the properties, the metadata of these types. Now, for training, of course, a lot of people have worked on to fine-tune this to training activities. So this very broad schema.org, very long list of properties to define these profiles in bioschemas. There's also a very nice publication for those who want to go into much more detail than we can do here now. But on this website of bioschema.org in the profile section, so if you click here on specifications, you will see the training specific types. Bioschemas is obviously a subset of schema.org if you want to see it like this. Now, how do we navigate the training space? We have a course. The course can have certain instances, and these instances and the course could be linked to training material. And in TeSS jargon, a course and course instance are events. So here, one example, a course could be fair training material made by design, which happened to happen last week in Sweden. So this is where we have put here down the September 2024 edition. There's the hope that there might be one in Belgium next year, and maybe one in Italy or any other location, obviously, in Europe, potentially, where we would also like to give these courses. We have extensive training materials. So for those who want to look at how you can make fair training material by design, please have a look at that link here. And there will be hopefully also soon videos about the various sections we have designed for this very first edition last week. Now, if we look into the annotation level, and that's obviously on if we go automated, you still need to think, obviously, what's and where does it come from. On the course level, course instance and training material. So these are the three different layers, profiles, in fact. I should be careful with semantics here. And what are the minimal properties? You see it's a reasonably short list for course. So event, description, keywords, and name. For course instance, course mode. Is it synchronous? Is it face-to-face? Is it online? And eventually location, depending on the mode. And then to this, you can link to the course instance, you can link specific training material, which again has descriptors properties like description, keywords, and name as minimal properties. As I said before, we really encourage people also for the automation to go really beyond the minimal metadata, because then it's more valuable for everyone. Same here. A course in this setup has a course instance, obviously, and features training material, usually a training material, which is also versioned by the course instance. A course can live without course instance. So you could have also training material, which is related to courses. And obviously you can have the training material alone, which is, again, as I said before, minimal metadata, description, keywords, and name. Now, TeSS, I see here, I will just click on to round up. So TeSS has been also around for quite a while, and we are very happy that we have really a lot of providers who are filling in this information manually, but we have more and more providers who are also going towards the automated ingestions of information by using bioschemas into TeSS. Some of these nodes are mentioned here. And we are really trying to get this also further on in people's hands. And there will be also a biohackathon project about these specific things, how you can make that implementation as easy as possible, not only for training material, but obviously also for other entities in our world. Coming back to TeSS, 2,700 obviously course material you can find there, and a lot of them will be research data management driven. So you see, it's quite a very rich resource, and it's also on us now to increase the curation level, as well as to keep it open source, so that we have a lot of open data we can also analyze later on with our data analysis tools. And TeSS, of course, as it says, is a rich source, which can be also then linked towards other products, if I may say so, of ELIXIR, or project like RDM Kit, the Data Steward Wizard, Bio.tools. So there are a lot of links between these resources from ELIXIR. One last slide, and then I stop and give the floor to Federico. As said by Xenia in the beginning, we are very happy to have Helena here also for the breakout session, where we would really like to zoom in on their vast effort to make a very highly curated offering of their training material and training events available also to TeSS. So I'm very happy if some people join the session about this more automated way of getting training material and events into TeSS. And that's it for me.
Yes. So I'm Federico Bianchini from ELIXIR Norway, and I'm here to show a bit how I tackle annotation of RDM-related content on TeSS. So I am a data manager, and I am or a data steward and a trainer. And when I'm doing my teaching, I focus a lot about fair data and about the importance of using persistent identifiers. And I'm going to show a bit today how we are using ELIXIR tools for actually annotating materials on TeSS with persistent identifiers. Okay, a bit of an introduction. So we use several services when developing training materials. In my case, I use GitHub for version control and Zenodo to assign a DOI, and then my material is on Zenodo. However, when my material is on Zenodo, I struggle to find it because it's just difficult, and Zenodo doesn't allow for much of an annotation. So having my material on TeSS really helps me a lot finding and distributing my own material, and at the same time also finding materials from other people. And for doing this, it is very important to use controlled terminologies and persistent identifiers. And that's a bit what I'm going to show today. And being research data management a relatively new topic, there are some challenges agreeing on the jargon and how we want to address this. So this is also part of my presentation today. So these are the tools that I'm going to use, and I also link the best practices that Alex was showing before me. And basically, what I'm going to show today comes in addition to what is present in that training material. And I'm going to focus on the current existing integrations, which are fair sharing, EDAM, and BioTools. Starting from fair sharing. As you can see, fair sharing is a curated database for data metadata standards and databases and policies. And that's, for example, how an entry looks like. That's ENA, the European Nucleotide Archive. And as you can see here, this entry is assigned a DOI that you want to use for annotating. And now we are on TeSS, and that's how you find material on TeSS based on fair sharing. So if you click here on the standard database or policy, this is basically fair sharing, you can see all the materials that is annotated using fair sharing. For example, 6 materials are annotated with fair sharing itself, but for example, 3 are annotated with the European Nucleotide Archive. And when you actually select one of these, you end up here. So here you can see, so this is, for example, material from my node that is actually annotated using the fair sharing entry for ENA. And you can follow this procedure on the test portal to find this material, or just using this URL. So basically, you can see here the keyword standard database or policy. This means that we are using the fair sharing integration or the fair sharing annotation to find the material, and that's the keyword, the DNA that we're going to use. So that's how you can automatize this process of finding material without going through the web portal, or you can go to the web portal and easily find material that is associated with this. Okay, how do you actually do this yourself? Because a bit of the scope of the event today is actually to make you do some hands-on work about this. So basically, you go on the page that you have already created on TeSS. We can obviously create it together if you haven't, and you need to click on Edit. Note that in order to edit an existing page, you need to log in. And if the page was not created by you, you might need special privileges in order to edit it. We have people from TeSS here at the event. They can sort out your privilege level so that you are actually able to do the work that you want to do. Okay, so click the edit button, scroll down until you find the box below this one, suggested policies, standards, and databases, which is fair sharing, and then you need to expand it by clicking here. And there it is. So here you get this search box. You start typing something, for example, ENA, and here you get the entry in fair sharing, and you just click here, and this is going to be added to your page. So everything can be done within TeSS. You don't need to go out of TeSS to perform this task, and it is quite straightforward, I would say. And basically this will add this annotation to your page, and then you need to click on update training material to actually publish what you have done. And your entry will appear in the external resources section, and then basically that's it. Fairly straightforward, and it will look like this in the end. It will have this European nucleotide archive with a link to fair sharing, and it will indicate fair sharing here on the side just to mark that it is that fair sharing has been used for this annotation. And now let's do the very same, but on BioTools. So fair sharing was covering standards, databases, and policies, and BioTools, as evident from the name, is covering tools. So they complement each other very nicely. And for example, and also in this case, identifiers are assigned to all the tools, and you can see here an example from the data stewardship wizard. And these are also annotations internal to BioTools. And basically, how do you find material? Exactly in the same way as you do for fair sharing. Instead of clicking on standard, database, or policy, you click on tool, and here you find all the tools. And again, the number is the number of material pages that are actually annotated with that term. And here you see some example. Nice that also the Portuguese node is using this type of annotation. Yes, and how does it work? In the same way as for fair sharing, you click on the edit button, and now you go on suggested tools to associate with this resource, which means BioTools, and here you look for the resource you want to add, for example, RDM kit, And by clicking here, you're going to add it to the page. Very straightforward. It works exactly in the same way as the previous case. And this is an example of a section of a page with both annotations from BioTools and fair sharing. And that's the link. So that's a nice example. Okay, and now, so this was kind of the easy part, because if you're teaching how to use a tool, or if you're teaching a specific database, you probably know the name of the tool and the name of the database. But where we're going into annotation with keywords, then jargon might differ, and people might say the same things in different ways. And this is a bit of a challenge. And so TeSS provides a feature using keywords for annotating, which are great to improve the findability of material in general. But as I said, these are not controlled. These are not controlled vocabularies. These are not ontologies. So again, as a data steward, I would like to control the terminology that I use as much as possible. And that's what I'm going to show here, how you can replace these keywords with ontology terms. Note that keywords should still be used when relevant. Ideally, everything should be on ontologies, but we know that it is not the case. So you kind of should find the balance in your annotations. Okay, so that's how you annotate with keywords. You again click on Edit, you scroll down to the Keywords section, and here you type your keywords. These are not controlled. You can type whatever you want. And by clicking this plus, you can add more. This is an example of a page that I made, where I actually found a mistake that I made, because I added here Data Stewardship Wizard as a keyword instead of using the BioTools integration. And so that's something that I will need to edit. Okay. So now I'm showing you an example with TeSS and RDM kit using keywords. So there was an activity in Converge to agree on a common set of keywords so that you can annotate things on TeSS and retrieve these results through RDM kit. So basically, pages on RDM kit come with a test query, which is in the page metadata, and that the user can access just by clicking on training in TeSS at the bottom of RDM kit pages. And basically, clicking this will open this page where you have done your queries using a data management plan, for example, on this page, or data management plan. This is a generic query. This is not done with fair sharing, BioTools, or EDAM. This is a generic query, but it works because pages on TeSS have been annotated correspondingly using keywords. So this actually allows you to find all the relevant TeSS material from RDM kit. Another example on RDM kit is tools and resources on a page. So when you look at the tool or resources, either from the running text here or from the table at the bottom of the page, you will see this training button. And this also is related to a query, which again is not done through the integrations, but it is a general query, and it is good enough. You can actually manage to find the relevant materials. So that's a very nice feature and a nice way of giving more visibility to your training. But obviously we can improve, and we can improve by adding more control on these terminologies. And this can be done with EDAM that is already integrated on TeSS. And EDAM provides a set of concepts with preferred terms and synonyms, related terms and definition, and it is particularly suitable for semantic annotation. And as I stated, there was a lot of activity in Converge to find the right terminologies to use for RDM, and there was a push to move these terms to EDAM, as I'm going to show a bit. So a bit more about EDAM. So basically, EDAM is comprised of 5 or 4 subsections, so subontologies: topic, operation, data, and format, which are quite self-descriptive. And this is the relation between them. So data is topic, operation is topic, operation is data, and format is a format of a certain type of data, a really straightforward relation between these subontologies of EDAM. And in the context of TeSS, we're not using the full thing. We're using topics, which is here on TeSS, a scientific topic. This is again the sidebar from the materials page. And this is operation, which appears here on the sidebar. And here you can see how much material is annotated with these specific terms from EDAM. And here are some examples of terms that can be used for RDM-related material. So these terms actually have been on EDAM for a very long time, and Converge people agreed that these terms should be used when applicable on TeSS. On top of this, we just had a new release of EDAM, which contains much more terms that are relevant to the world of research data management. And I also would like to take this occasion to thank the working group. And so this was part of Converge, and it took a bit of time and of manual curation of EDAM to actually make this happen. But in the end, it happened. It was released yesterday, and it is already available on TeSS, which is very nice. So we can use it today, and you can see here the additional terms that can be used to better annotate your pages. And that's how you do it on TeSS. You need to go on operations and you start typing, and there is autocomplete that will allow you to find the right EDAM operation that you want to use for your page, and exactly the same procedure applies to topics. Okay, so this one a bit advanced topic, but basically EDAM is available on the NCBio bioportal. So this is a resource external. This is not TeSS. EDAM is also available, for example, on OLS, but it is not necessarily updated to the latest release there, because the EDAM group is directly doing the releasing on the bioportal. And so there is, if you click on classes, there is a search box. And when you click on this green data deposition, for example, you can see where data deposition is in the hierarchy of EDAM, and you can see the entry, and you can see the synonyms. Synonyms are very important because sometimes you want to say something, but the EDAM class has another name, and you really want to know you're using the right terminology, even though it is maybe not the right term. As an example, open data is not on EDAM, But if you go on the search page of the bioportal and you look for open data, it will link you to FAIR data. And if you go on FAIR data, we will actually see that open data is listed as a synonym of open data, is not an exact synonym, is not listed as an exact synonym. There are different degrees of separation for synonyms, and there are also related terms. But basically, this is telling you that you can't use open data directly on TeSS. You need to use fair sharing, fair data when you're doing the annotation. And at this moment, finding this can only be done from the search tool in the bioportal, not within TeSS. So it would be a nice improvement if this could be done within TeSS, because it would make the procedure a bit less complicated. But anyway, this is an example on how you should use synonyms to find the right annotation. And I would like to conclude stating that registering and ontologies can be used to annotate your test pages for improving findability and visibility. And this can be used to easily display content from TeSS, from external sources. Jargon is challenging and annotation can be complicated. So I strongly recommend to work as a community to define the best practices. And finally, automating things is important. So hopefully there will be also a bioschema-based solution that will facilitate this process. And I will thank you for your attention.